you to say, hey, no, we're doing this, or we're falling outside of this scope. We got to reform, or we got to revamp this so that we're staying within the scope or we're staying within the funds. You will have issues, big issues, at the end of that particular grant year or fiscal year, so to speak, because now you got to explain why you went over by so much. Why'd you spend over more than what you said? You estimated this. Why'd you spend this? Right? And then when they say, show me all your documentations, they don't know what you do day to day. They don't know what it takes for you to do what you do. All they're going to look at is black and white paper. Mission statement, spending. And it don't always line up or make sense because they're not in the trenches. Right? Well, why did you get this room when you could have got that room? Right? And they don't know that such and such situation is so bad that we need that they know that they were cared for. And that's we do that. If I'm sleeping on the streets, don't throw me in Motel 6. Hey, it ain't much better.
I know people at Motel 6. And they don't want me there, so I wasn't safe at Motel
6, right?
Right.
So they don't, but the people that's auditing don't know it. They don't know it.
They just think about the number.
Right. So that's why your fiscal, your financial manager, associate, and your fiscal accountant works hand in hand and say, hey, you don't know, I need you to know the numbers. I'm gonna have to make sure that when we report this, that we're all within reason, right? And the financial manager should know enough about what you got going on. They shouldn't be an expert at what you do. They should be an expert at what you spend. Right. Difference. Yes.
I was when you were talking about hotels, that brought up something for me about travel.
Yes.
And just remembering that when traveling, it's the same thing. When you're traveling, are you going someplace where you would want to stay or normally stay? Because saying you have a $150 cap to stay in Kansas City versus San Francisco, you could be in the TL in San Francisco and be in the top hall in Kansas City.
Very good point. I mean, he brings up a great question. Great thing.
Something to think about with your barrier funds. When you're doing travel and setting up per diem.
All of that. And that was the thing, because so we won't set your per diem. The grantors won't set your per diem. You, the CEO sets that, right? Or your CFO will set that, or financial manager, whoever you are going to do, because they're going to say, this is what the budget is. This is what we can spend on each event coming up that I know is that we already have pre-planned. Now, we do have training that may come out the blue, right? People like, that wasn't on the books, nobody said this, but they tell you it's mandatory, you gotta make it. But you're looking at your budget, you'd be like, we only planned for this, right? Which means that now you have to make future concessions. May not be able to stay here or there, you got my there, because we had one that was one up. But I was people over budget for that, right? Because you don't know if you're gonna get one or two off training. But you do know what you need. You know what you need to go stay somewhere. Because I can't open up a room and just see all those people qualities running around. You be like, I'm gonna sleep in the car. I'm sleep in the car, and I'm gonna go to the gas station to do what I need to do. Right? Because it's because I know when I traveled to Australia, and we walked into a room. And it's a spider. The spider was so big, right? It's like the size of the projector. And they were saying that's a common house spider. That's not a common house spider. Right.
Over here, we got a whole different common
spider, right? They're not that big. So, but I'm on someone else's diamond budget, right? So all I can do is ask for another room. even though I didn't want to stay in the hotel
At all.
at all.
Yeah.
Because if you got that thing in there and you didn't see it come in, it wasn't on nobody's camera. Like, why you want to? And it's just sitting on my chest. I might go into cardiac arrest and not make it.
Right.
Right? So, but that. But working on a budget, working on a budget that is being given to you on a sheer, hey, we like what you're doing. This is what you said you were going to do. We're really into this. We want to invest in this. We want to let you know that as the city, as the county, as the state, as the federal government, we're behind you. But it comes with restrictions.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think a lot of people forget. Your money comes with restrictions.
Yeah.
And as a fiscal sponsor, we're saying we're signing up to take the liability hits for your money because you need help with this.
Yeah.
Right? That does not mean that we sign up to want to go to jail. We're signing up to say, as we work together, we both stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
So-
You have to stay out of trouble and keep that
Person out of trouble, right? Because I tell people, my son like to eat, Carter like to eat. Daddy, I'm hungry. Tell me that.
So I want to bring this up. I was one time at a church. I was talking. He was a friend of mine. He said that he wanted to get into trucking. So he had a argument with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I could get this truck over here for like $5,000, and I could get to work in a week because the truck is already there."
Right.
His dad was like, "I need you to go get that $75,000 truck and stop playing because you need a quality truck to do this work."
Yes.
He did it his own way, right? Got the truck, 5,000. We good. We on the road. Now, however many days, weeks it lasted, it wasn't months. However many days or weeks it lasted, it was all good. My dad is tripping. He don't know what he's talking about. Right? As soon as they break down, you can't pick up the phone no more. Hey, son, how's it going? Oh man, I've been busy. I got to talk to you later. Right? But you're bringing up this point about pricing because what I know, and this came up before, this is why I'm bringing it up, is that we can and would be willing to go. We could go to grocery outlet.
Yes.
We could go to Marshall's to get the food. We could go to Ross, blah blah blah, and or moving on to that, we don't have to go to Apple to get a computer.
Right.
We could go to blah 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 and then get something refurbished for blah blah blah, and it'll cut down costs. Right. And there's a part where it's wise in our minds to go, well, let's do the thing that is the cheapest thing, because we want to not spend a whole lot of money. But then there's the cost that comes from getting the cheap thing, which goes, okay, but what's going to happen when that one breaks? Because now you don't have any insurance, right? You never had any type of warranty on it.
Come on.
And what it brought up in the conversation that we had once before was, do you feel comfortable getting quality things? Does that even feel right for you?
Yes.
Right? Because again, coming from wherever we're from, we like, dude, like I ain't never really had J's. I ain't never really had some Air Maxes, right? I ain't never really had ... Right. So all I really need is this. We could just look. We don't even need much room for this place. All we need, give us about 8 by 8. Yep. We can work in that. We can work in there, right? And so even we pursue grants that are little. We don't pursue much more than what we already have, right? We say things like, why do we need more? Yes. Right? And that came up in a conversation because it really was like, oh snap, we don't know that we could probably not just be shortchanging ourselves, but we could also be putting ourselves in a situation where eventually the things that we got deals on is no longer working. Yes. We talked about this with one of our sponsees. Oh, I could get somebody from the college that'll do these types of things, and all I gotta pay them is ... Right. But now they miss ... And you thought you were saving money because you got a little college
Yeah.
to handle that business, right? And now you have to pay how much because of that audit.
Because of that audit, because you could be shut all the way down because of that, right?
Right,
Because
right.
I tell people, I learned this when I got married the second time around. My wife had to teach me quality over quantity, right? Because I come from the streets, I was homeless, so quantity was more important than quality.
Right.
Because I never knew when the next meal's coming in, so let me get all I can,
All I
store
can.
it, perhaps cheap, let me get it as cheap as possible, because I don't have that money.
Yeah.
But now when it comes to serving others, right?
Mm.
Quality has to come before quantity. Right? So you need a laptop or you need a computer, go get a quality one because you need it to last at least 3 years. Right? And if it breaks down in the year 1.5, your warranty will help you replace that or fix it.
Yeah.
But if you go get refurbished, the moment it go down, it's down, right? So you bought a quality computer. You bought it. You kind of say you bought it because you have to buy two, right? You have to buy two refurbished when you could have bought one quality, and you got to pay more because you got to pay sales taxes, right? In that quality people in the right areas, right? As the CEO, right? You can't be everywhere and do everything, right? So you got to groom a person to replace you. In that, or not replace you, to assist you, because they need to be able to say, hey, we have the power. I've been given the power to delegate, but I'm going to make sure that I don't abuse this delegation power because we got to get things done because ultimately it reflects on the CEO, right? Or the CFO. Say that, right? Right? So we got to make sure people are doing what they do. Same thing when it comes to money. Your accountant, your fiscal sponsor, your fiscal agent, whoever he or she is they should be the quality that you need to ensure that your spending is done. Because you are proving to the grantor right now you can handle 50K, right? We just say the grant is 50K. As you start to grow and as you start to do better, you can't work with 50K no more. You need to go get that 500,000, that $500,000, and it's been programmed in us. More money, more problems, right? Right. So that's how we think. More money, more problems. I don't want more problems because I barely handle the ones I got right now, right? But here's the thing: you're not in it alone. That's what your fiscal agent is for.
Right.
That's what your financial manager or financial consultant or financial associate, whatever that title may be, that person's overseeing them. They're there to make sure, as the CEO, you can do what you need to do. As the executive assistant or deputy executive, he or she is delegating, making sure that they're communicating with your fiscal agent, your financial manager, whatever, so that they're within that scope of business on paper, right? You have a team, or you should have a team to help you make sure you do not fall too far out of scope. And if you don't pay yourself, you can't do what you need to do. And if you don't pay yourself right, you can't do what you need to do. We all burn out, we're human. So we all need to know that we're being compensated for as much work and sacrifice we're putting in. We need to make sure we take mental health days. We need to do self-care days, right? And we shouldn't be ashamed of that. But your fiscal agent, your financial manager can make sure that in the budget it's there, right? Because as you're growing, your financial manager or financial consultant, whatever, is making notes. We didn't have this in the last budget. We didn't have that in the last budget. And it was hard to squeeze them in, right? Because of the amount of documentation we had to do. So next time you go for a grant, check in with your financial person. What do we need and what line items do we need? Because they're going to know better than you know because you're spending,
Right.
but they got to make it work.
Yeah.
They got to make this work, right? Because the moment you say, they reimburse all of that. What you mean they reimburse all of that,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
You know how we are about notes. When we hear a no to our money,
Right.
right?
Right. We got the money, don't we?
Right?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, we got it, but do we got it?
Right?
Yeah. We got this. We ain't got it for that.
Right? So that's the thing. So frequent meetings with with your financial person on your staff, and then check-ins with the fiscal sponsor or fiscal agent.
Mhm.
The finance person and the fiscal agent are the ones that need to meet more often than not. CEOs, CFOs, I mean, well, the CFO always needs to be, but the CEO and any other founders or chiefs, so to speak,
Mhm.
needs to check in on a quarterly type of basis, right?
Mhm.
The reason why I say that they need to check in is because your C-suite or your upper management needs to know what budget, where you're at on spending. Because if you got more than one person sending in requests, you don't know how much you're spending,
Yeah.
right? So if I got facilities sending in requests, and then I got transportation saying, hey, I need gas, I need money, right? But they may not all be sending it to the CEO, right? They might send it straight to the finance person, right?
Yeah. They make a decision.
Right? Whether yay or nay. And because it's operations, you don't really say no because it's operations,
Yeah.
right? We say no to, can we have snacks? No.
Right.
Do snacks on this meeting, right? Even though everybody got accustomed to snacks, can't do it on this meeting, right? Can we give a ride to this person to go here? No, we don't have it. We're too tight on the budget, right? That's the policing that you need here and there, right? Or we make that comment, you're doing a lot of this versus that, right? Because it might need to be rerouted. There might need to be a big meeting saying, hey, no more reimbursements on this, no more reimbursements on this. You go, that's on your dime.
Yeah.
Right? That's like I tell people, I gotta get to work. They don't give me money to get for that bridge.
Yeah.
I wish they did, Lord Jesus.
Right. I'm like, we can't take the money from Bart.
Right.
Come on, man. I've been looking at that money like, man, if I could use this, I would.
Right. So, and that's the thing that we have to think about. There are certain things that we, especially with nonprofits, that we have to make sure we set a good tone with. If it's not done in corporate, don't do it. Don't offset it or make up for it in nonprofit.
Yeah.
Run your nonprofit like corporate.
Yeah.
Because that way you know you got the money to do what you need to do. And then what corporate does at the end of the year are bonuses, right? Because if they got money left over that they earmarked for, you got to blow this money.
Right. Here y'all go.
Right? And those are those good year-end parties and things of that nature that people do. Yeah. Or like you got more on your check and be like, they're gonna hit me harder on the taxes, right? How you gonna hit me harder? I love you for it, but I ain't gonna get it all.
You got those players there.
Right? Yeah. You gonna tell me I got an extra $1K on my check. I'm like, do I? Because I see less than that.
Right. You today was 1,000. They said like 3, you gotta be 5.
Right. So those are things that your financial manager and your fiscal agent can talk about. Like, okay, this is how much is left. So here goes some ideas that fall within the scope of business, right? That you can do to show appreciation, right? So you can burn this as quick as possible. The other thing that I will tell people that on your funding request forms, if you can label what the event is for, it's easier to track or go back and capture those type of documentations or say, this is where you spent the most at, right? Because when you first do your budget, you're not gonna know, the first time you get the grant, you're not gonna know where you spend all your money at. You don't know when your high or low peaks are. You don't know that's about honestly, about year 3.5, you start to realize, oh, this is my peak. This is the peak when we get extremely busy. We're doing the most spending, but what event are you doing? Right? The ask by date or need by date, always important. The payable to is important. Here's why that's important. I might know the person that you're telling me to pay by name. Their account may be set up by business. So the check needs to go to the business and not the individual. Right? Payable to is to whatever the check, how the check needs to be written so it can be cash or deposited to the right person or account or business. Not the individual all the time. The address is whatever address the business is listed for. Some people put their own personal address in there.
Right.
No.
Can you make sure that your tape
Where's the business
is
at?
green?
Yeah.
Right? Or whoever this name is, or whatever that name is, what is that?
Like I see that you're
Purpose
pointing to things and
is important because if purpose isn't there
to understand
on any funding request form,
Okay.
if purpose isn't there,
Okay. Thank
we
you.
don't know if it falls within the scope of business.
Right.
That is a hard stop right there. Hard stop.
Yeah.
If you have the file on hand, can you send it over to the email or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll email it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, I'll share it with you because it's on our Google Drive.
It is.
But I gotta share it to you first.
Okay.
Think you have access.
Mhm.
But I will give you access. The other is the requested by, right? Who's requesting it? Is it your company, your organization name, and then the director or the CEO or whoever's over that department? The reason for that is because we want to be able to make sure that we give the accountability or hold whoever accountable that's requesting this money, because if it falls outside your budget, I know who to contact, or I should know who to contact that's above that person. Like I know to contact Dr. Tate if something falls outside of the norm. Like, Dr. Tate, is this what we do? Right? And she's gonna say, or oh yeah. I told them to do that. And Dr. Tate is really good at sending me an email saying, hey, I'm sending this over, just be aware. Those are great practices. Great practices. Because if you're not communicating, or if your financial person isn't communicating with the person that's actually held accountable for that funds, because they grant it to YCD, right? Young Community Developers. But the person that has to sign for it is Mr. Brookter and the CFO.
Right.
Right? Everybody ain't putting their name on that grant.
Right.
So when they go bad, YCD getting hit, but who actually getting hit? Mr. Brookter,
Right.
whoever the CFO is.
Right.
That's why I tell people, I'm not in a hurry to become another CFO.
Right.
I'm not in a hurry for that. I'm good at where I'm at.
Right.
But that's important because you want to know who's above the person that's requesting it, right? You want to know whoever is above them. Now, down here, normally, if on my side of this is like more so for me giving it to an organization that we're fiscal sponsored. It's like one or two things here, right? There are cases where you got 9 to 10 grants that you got to pick from, right? For us, we got like 250 left, right? And we got to know them all, right? We got to know them all, and we got to make sure it makes sense. Here is the percentage to say, is it 100% to this grant, or is it 75% to this grant, and the amount that I'm going to track as the budget.
Yeah.
Comments are saying, hey, I know I put the purpose here, but I know that this is the person payable or the business payable, but there's a certain circumstance or not. Can this check have a memo saying, please pay to so-and-so, right? Or,
Right.
right? right? So that we know, okay, cool. If we can get it all in the memo, we will. If not, we're going to abbreviate it to put it in the memo to make sure that it says what it needs to say for that individual. Mind you, we keep copies of all canceled checks. So when people say, hey, I didn't get that, it cleared the account.
Right.
Prove to me you didn't get
Somebody got it.
it. Somebody.
That thing has your name and your identification.
Right?
I'll tell you ain't got it. It says it's got it.
It said it cleared. It said it cleared. Right?
I hear it.
Right? So these are important. That's definitely important. When we go,
Can I ask you a question? Ms. Tate, you mentioned that you guys have a number of grants. If with that being the case, is that piece something that's pretty complicated sometimes in terms of you want to pay for, let's say it's one thing, but it's coming from a few different sources?
It can be.
Mhm.
We haven't gotten too complicated with it.
Like
Like now we're spending down to the end of the grant, so he's gonna start noticing that I have, this is coming from this and that.
yeah,
Because the balances are low in some areas and the only other thing is rent. We have multiple grants that cover portions.
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Tate has definitely, at times, I've earned my money.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and the beautiful thing is that what we've learned to do is have a very, very great work relationship and friend relationship, right? Because sometimes you need to for some people, in some cases, like me, I'm one of those people, if I'm stressed on something, I need to talk it out, right? And I need somebody to talk it out with. But they got to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So those things sometimes need to happen. Like, hey, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. We can do hypotheticals, right? Now, here's the thing that I will tell people and that I definitely want to focus on is what sounds simple to you as the grantee is not simple for the finance team or fiscal team on the backside. It's not a push of a button. It's not printing a check. It's not saying approve a payment. We got to do a lot of calculations and we got to go back and say, has this been done before? Is it within our practice? Is it legal to do? Right? Because it's like when we're working with our own budget, our own money, like if I'm saying, okay, this is what this is my check. Carter had an accident, I got to take him to emergency hit me for 500. Wasn't prepared to spend 500, right? Now I got to make sure I pay my car note, my car insurance, rent, food, PG&E, Wi-Fi, and all the streaming apps, right? Right?
All of them.
All of them, right? And if not, which one can I float that's going to give me at least a month and a half before I have to pay before they cut it off, right? Now I'm gonna make sure in my own personal one, I'm gonna make sure I budget. Okay, so I need Disney Plus for car. Can I do away with Netflix for a second, or is it Hulu I'm gonna let go? Right? We can do that in our own. That's not as easy to do with a grant. You can't float rent. Right? Rent is not floatable.
Rent is due.
Right? Rent is due. Now, phone bills may be floatable for a second, depending on who's your carrier.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it ain't paid on time, you know, because phone's not working, right? So we got to know which ones. So that's where we on the backside be like, okay, can this one be paid? Can that one be paid? Because in some cases, in a lot of cases, your grants are reimbursable. They're not they don't just give it out to you. It's a reimbursement type of thing. And 9 times out of 10, your fiscal agent is floating the funds for you to use until the invoices are sent in to repay us back. So we're budgeting yours and ours accounts. So for a hypothetical example, if organization ABC says, hey, I got to make sure I pay all my employees, my monthly compensation for the employees is $20K. Go look, scratch my head. Then I gotta go look at other funding sources that we have as a fiscal agent to say, where can I pull the 20K from to make sure the employees is paid? And how long is that grantor or the grantor going to take to reimburse us?
Yeah.
Because I can send the invoice in on a due date, but it may still take, especially if it's county, and I hate to say that, it may take 2 to 3 months before we see funds. So now I got a budget. Does YCD pay all of the phone bills for YCD? Or does it pay, or does we say, Mr. Brookter, which source do we pull from? Because this hits salaries. So how do we make this work? Right? The CFO and the CEO then has to have a hard conversation on that part. Sometimes that's why we like to set the tone and be like, no upfront, with special exceptions if emergencies occur. In that, we tell people, be careful on that when just spending, because it's a reimbursement thing. We are the funder. We're financing until type of thing. And that's hard. And we're both nonprofits, so we don't know if we're always going to get that money coming in. You don't know if you're always going to get this grant. Be careful on how you do it.
I know Akatasi had brought that up the first day that she has a for-profit business,
Yes.
and she gets grants from the city to do work, commissions, and she'll let them know, okay, I got awarded it. She gave us an example. She got it a certain month. The event that she planned to spend all the money on was a certain month. And then the time that she was expecting to get the money was, right?
Yep.
Maybe a few weeks, maybe a month or so.
Yeah.
Cool. But they're taking longer than I thought that they would take.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, it was a big thing in the discussion that we were having. With that being said, for the folks who are new, okay, I got the grant, because this goes back to that part. Okay, I just got the grant.
Yep.
What are should they expect? Should they expect it to be, it's going to just take a few days? It's just going to take a few weeks? Should they
expect 3 months, a minimum of 3 months.
And let's say a maximum. What
maximum could be 8 months to a year.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's happened to me at the other job that I work, and it's happened to a couple of nonprofits that I worked for, and I've seen it where it took a year.
Wow.
And the county and the city just took a year. And no matter what you do, no matter how hard they press it, it took that long.
Right.
So
you can't just run up, be like, yo, somebody needs to run my money today.
Yeah, nope.
That don't
work like that. It don't work like
that. It
that.
don't work like that in the city.
On the grants too, it tells you, like, you got this grant. Congratulations, you've been awarded this grant. And it says, do not spend any money until this is signed by the city attorney. Specifically in California, the San Francisco ones, where it says do not spend any money until you receive a finalized signed grant agreement.
Yes.
So it's like, congratulations.
So that's two
that could
different
be
things.
4, 5,
Yes.
6 months.
Yep.
So, okay, just trying to understand. So you get the email, all excited. Then it says don't spend anything for a number of months. So let's say you don't, but you're calculating the whole time. We're going to need to spend all this on this to get blah, blah, blah. So 4 or 5 months pass. Okay, so we're getting ready for an event next month. Now I'm ready to spend the money because I got this letter. I start spending the money, but I still don't expect to get the money back immediately. With that being said, if I'm not expecting to get the money back immediately, why am I spending money? And how am I spending money if I don't have the money that you guys are saying I'm going to get?
Here's the crazy thing, and I'm going to cite what she was speaking of.
Yeah.
So we write these grants, and they actually tell you to write a timeline. So it's supposed to be July to June 30th. So they tell you in the month of October, what do you do? In the month of June, what do you do? In the month of July, what are you doing? Okay, so I get this award in March.
Mm-hmm.
I should be ready to go because you told me I need to have programming starting July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
But oops, the grant's not signed.
Yep. Yep.
So like last year, the city and county, didn't have the city and county's attorney that normally signed off, didn't get hired till October.
Mhm.
They didn't have one.
You can't sign nothing if you don't have.
Oh shoot! Oh shoot!
So you had all this programming set to go, right? But you could do it, but technically, are they gonna pay you for it?
Mm.
Did you ask for an advance against it? Because sometimes some grants you can ask for like up to
Yeah.
$10,000 in advance, or sometimes some things are $10,000 a month. Because
Wow,
you
right,
know
right.
you have it, it just hasn't been signed off by the city attorney. But that's a very intimate conversation to have with your grant manager. Or I've heard of people who put it on their credit card. I wish I would.
Right.
But that kind of
On my credit? Oh, yeah, mess with
because we need to have that desk when the mayor comes on to the office. But no.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people do it, and I go, it tells you right on there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'll be like, well, your program year is not starting when you said it started. And then how that impacts you at the end is you have to spend down by June 30th. So then at the end, you might be scrambling.
Yeah.
Or what am I going to pay for?
Yep.
Or asking, can I reallocate these funds?
Yes.
Or asking, can I have an extension to
Yeah.
spend down the funds because y'all didn't give me this money and I wasn't able to spend this money till October.
Yeah, yeah.
And took up 3 months of program.
Right, right.
And then she brings up, and I love that you brought that up. Thank you, because it also takes it takes a CEO to be fully immersed in what the finance is looking like,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to know, because if you got to write for an extension, you need to know what went wrong,
Mm-hmm.
where it went wrong, and how long you think it's going to take you to spend it, right? Because you can ask for an extension, they can give you a month.
Or
Right.
they can say no. Like in my case, I just did one today. We got a grant that was supposed to start July 1st. It got signed off October the 16th.
Come on.
Then we were supposed to hire an employee,
Yeah.
but we had a hiring freeze until January here. So that's
Yeah.
6 months that
Mm.
somebody hasn't worked in this position.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just asked for an extension for 6 months and to reallocate those funds because I'm like, I don't want to lose this
Mhm.
whole half of a position
Right.
because I couldn't hire somebody because you didn't have it signed off, and then we had a hiring freeze.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And those things happen,
Yeah.
right? And as the fiscal agent or sponsor, things happen with us that affects the people we're trying to support.
Right, right.
And those things happen, and you got to be ready for it.
Mm.
As she was, she was only, can I?
Mm.
And if not, then what do we do?
We gonna figure out how to spend this money.
Right? Because then
Right,
one
right.
option is because of special circumstances, do we give an increase
Mm-hmm.
to spend it down? Because here's the issue: if you don't spend it, you
Yeah.
lose it.
Yeah.
And then when
yeah.
you go to apply for another grant, you didn't spend all the last one you had, so
Right.
we're not giving you the same
They
amount.
give you that much. Wow.
Even though that's outside of their control, they take the hit.
That's scandalous.
Especially because it's staffing. And so, you know, then,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna never have this position filled, or I'm hiring somebody for 6 months, but I really ain't got no money for you, even though you have a full year of funding, but we could spend it.
Right?
Right,
And,
right.
and that's the thing. So like the CEO, the founders have to look at how we make sure that when we hire, it stays consistent,
Right.
right? But what you brought up, I've seen out of all the nonprofits that I work for, I think there was only two. Yeah, there's only two that did not have a for-profit to back the funding.
Yeah, that one was-
So I work for this one company called Roots in Oakland, right? They had a couple of for-profit businesses, right? That for-profit business was their funneling money to offset whatever they may not be able to get in grants,
Mhm.
right? They had enough to work on to make sure that what isn't covered normally by grants is covered, right?
Mhm.
Like people will say, okay, I want to make sure I got staff, right? But then you can have a janitor or a facilities person, right? But what you didn't account for was all the supplies that facilities is going to need
Mhm.
to keep the place clean,
Mhm.
all of that, right? So 9 times out of 10, that's coming from some general funds or or if you get a private funder that donates so much, that money is being spent or reallocated for that, right? Because it's not in the grant for it.
Right.
So it's a strong recommendation to have a for-profit business
Mhm.
to help cover, especially incidents like that, salaries. So if the grant didn't start till, officially, if the grant, oh no, technically, if the grant didn't start 6 months in for that fiscal year, you know there's no way you're gonna spend it all unless you do stuff that's outside of common practice, right?
Mhm.
Which is hard to justify,
Mhm.
even though they know they messed up. The grantor know they messed up. The county, the city, they know they messed up.
Right.
But it's still hard to break that down and for them to say yes. They're like, no, that's not common practice. You got to do it at this rate. This is what you said you were going to pay them. This is what their salary should be like, or their compensation should be like. I don't know how you're going to get it all in, but you got to get it all in, right? No way. No way. But you don't want to lose an employee. So like a lot of them have a for-profit.
Right. Right.
Donating the money as charities, write-off, stuff like that to the nonprofit. And I mean, like I said, I've known places that I've worked for places truly that had like 2 or 3 for-profits
Right. Right.
that they do.
Right.
When you don't have it, it is up to the not up to it, at the mercy and the grace of your fiscal sponsor. If they're financially strong enough to float the money until you can get a grant, so then reimburse them, that's what we're practicing. Not things that we like to practice. It's not things that we recommend to happen.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee you're gonna get the grant,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a guarantee we're gonna take a loss,
Mm.
right? So if we take a loss, which one of our employees do we have to let go?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Well, which auxiliary or department we have to shut down because we kind-hearted.
Wow.
So those are things that ramification has a big blowback.
Yeah.
Or that I should say that situation can have a huge blowback, but it's outside of their control.
Yeah.
If they could, they would have spent it day one.
Right.
We gonna say we got somebody, we gonna get this money, we gonna put it in the account, wait and do it like that. But that's not that legally you can't do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it would be the way to do it. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That would be me. That'd be 4 nights straight up. Just to be like, when you see me, Jermaine, you like, "You okay?" No.
No.
72 is when the brain says it's gonna do its own thing. 72 hours, no sleep. It's gonna do its own thing.
Right.
I am working on sheer fumes here.
So just to,
Mhm.
to speak to the folks who don't have a for-profit company, that's gonna, right, which is gonna be the majority of folks.
Yes, it will be.
Understanding, because I brought this up once too, was that like I've heard of Steph Curry's organization,
Yep.
Usher's organization, Rock Nation probably has a wing that is nonprofit. And so
Mhm.
there are these people who have this huge amount of money coming in from whatever
Yep.
they're due professionally, but when they have the nonprofit, then they ain't got to worry about the city didn't. The city didn't do it.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
Wow, like I played the NBA. We're good. We ain't worried about that.
No.
And so because people are coming in saying, well, I just have this, I just.
Yeah.
So when I go for the grant and they don't give me the money on time or in this time frame, I'm taking this huge loss.
Yeah.
I'm suffering from that.
Yeah.
What advice, for the folks who want to have an organization, probably already started it, right? Sometimes we already started it, the 501c3 and everything, and we don't even have like an income that's like more than enough.
Right. So what I recommend is that you always have a money person, right? And what I mean by that is that you have somebody who's always showing up to those big events to smooth and charm the money people, the people who got money, because that donation 9 times out of 10 comes unrestricted. Then you can use it for those type of things, that bad situation that was outside of the nonprofits control.
Mhm.
And any money you get is good money. I don't care if they say, well, I can only do 500, we'll take it, right?
Uh-huh.
And because that 500, you get enough 500s, right? You good. Don't say no to money. I tell people, don't say no to money if you're a nonprofit and you're asking. But that means that person that you're picking for that has to be available sometimes at the drop of a dime to be somewhere.
Mhm.
Because you may only get that, you may get that information 2 days before the event. The CEO can't be there because they got to run the business,
Mhm.
right? Well, the founders can't be there because they got to run the business. So you need somebody like that. You never ever not look for grants, money, or philanthropy.
Mm.
You never not look for that. You're in a nonprofit. You're not guaranteed. Even the contract itself can say 1 fiscal year. But if the county or the city hit a financial hurdle,
Mhm.
guess what? Guess what is the first to stop paying?
Mm.
Okay.
Wow.
It's a promise. I got people. A promise is nothing but an earmark and a budget.
Right,
Your grant has been earmarked for this month.
right.
But if the county or the city needs to reallocate, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about that. You can write up lawsuits all day long.
Yeah.
You're just losing more money.
And this again, bringing back to this conversation we had, in which the conversation was, just to give it a little bit more meat, which was, there's a bunch of nonprofits in San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be one of the nonprofits who got all this money, and we ain't doing, what we could be doing with the money, right? Because we come out, right? We got all the critiques, right? What's the name? What's the name on 3rd Street? So don't even get me started, right?
Yeah.
On this or that.
Yeah.
So we have all these critiques, and I'm hearing them in the room, and it's like, man, and they ain't doing right, and they ain't did this, and people still hungry. People still getting shot over. They getting shot in your neighborhood, ain't they right? Yeah. Somebody ain't doing what they're supposed to do. What was the name of the organization, and what's the name, and what was he doing? And so we have all these folks. We have all these voices that are saying, why are you going to get more money if you haven't found the way to spend the money that you have the most effectively, the best way, in such a way that you're above reproach?
Right.
And what was coming up in that room was, you don't know how much you're going to need to effectively do the job that you need to do.
Yes.
So don't go, we don't need more money.
We need more money.
We need more money. That needs to be somewhere in the.
You got to sleep on that.
Right. I mean, so honestly, this was a conversation that we literally had in one of these rooms, going, because we don't want to be one of the people that has the money and is being critiqued for not doing the best with the money. So if we just keep it to the minimum, then people won't be like, but they got so much. Why didn't they? Like no, all they got, all we got is ... So don't come for us talking about, y'all had this many millions. With that being said, that makes push, and for this particular organization, was putting them in a place where they said, we have to meet about this, we have to talk about this more thoroughly, because we are coming up against each other when somebody goes, we need to be doing more fundraising. We need to be putting more energy towards how are we going to get more money, because somebody in that room is going, for what?
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
You're always going to have your naysayer. You're always going to have it. I don't care. Every nonprofit has a naysayer that is overly critiquing what that nonprofit should be doing. Churches are nonprofits, overly critiqued for not impacting the community. But here's the issue, and here's the truth. You don't know what their grant restrictions were. You don't know. You don't know what their line items are, right? You don't know if they have the money to intervene in the manner that you feel is appropriate.
Yeah.
They may only have the money to intervene this way, right? Which is a fourth of the effort by other people's standards to intervene. They're working on nonprofits. I know one of the nonprofits I used to work for, we had this one department that was being funded by the city of Oakland to actually be on the streets, to try to get the temperature of the streets, and to do their best to mediate any potential conflict. However, they were not able to be out there putting people in houses or rooms to keep them out of trouble,
Mhm.
right? Only to mediate a conversation,
Interesting. Right.
right? So mediation, would you give me the opportunity to sit down and talk? Would you give me the opportunity to sit down and talk? If he say no, can't do no more.
Mm-hmm.
Mediation,
Yeah.
right? People want us to go in, people want people to go in there and almost citizen arrest people,
Right. Put them in the car.
right? And you can't do that.
Right.
Legally, that's kidnapping.
Right.
Can't do that.
Mm.
Then you're telling other people, well, you should go, you should be there all the time. So you're telling me to go get shot,
Yeah.
right? You're telling me to put myself in harm's way when you wouldn't do it,
Right.
right? I don't care how much money they
You
pay.
get paid $24 an hour.
20, no one did, right? 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 Right?
It got me got though.
And so that's the portion that people have to sit back and understand. And it's not for the organization to open up all their books to every other organization. It's not for that. No one knows what the organization's budget restrictions are, or line item restrictions are, or restrictions period. No one knows how much, they should know how much each CEO is getting paid, right? Right? It is in the newspaper.
Man, they will.
Right? In a heartbeat. But then here's the thing. They don't say how many years they've been in. They don't say how long they've been doing this business without funding. They don't say all of that.
Wow.
They don't say the impact that they've had before the city or the county ever got involved.
They
Man.
also don't talk about what is it compared to other agencies.
Agencies.
There's
For
always
profit.
a black agency. There's enough for- so that the industry can go on.
Right? So when the accusations are flying, they do all that homework.
Right.
Right? Because, and then also too, let's be 1,000. To work at a nonprofit compared to a corporate business, it's a huge pay cut. A huge pay cut. I can do this thing.
Yeah.
For profit, and be making well over $125.
Right.
I mean, $125,000 per year, right?
Yeah.
To do the same exact thing.
Right.
With that stress.
Right.
Because at 5 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Oh wow. Yeah.
All right? Now.
But I think that's a part where, and I don't know, where exactly we can end up addressing this more, but we know in our conversations that we've had with some folks, the voices are so
Loud.
important. They are so loud because not only do we have our own where we go, well, I do know that I see them not doing this. Like we have our own voice, but then we have all of the people that we know that are like, yeah, you don't want to be like them, and you heard about them, and have you heard, and and it gets to a point where you either are internalizing it or it's a continual battle not to internalize it. But it sounds like a lot of people are pressuring themselves and are being pressured by the voices around them to be doing everything. Everything. And don't just go do this for them. Make sure that they also have this, and they also have that, and they also have this. And if you ain't making no money, they're not mad at that. Right. If you don't get paid 1 cent, they're like, as long as you're doing something for these kids, that's all we're interested in. And there has to be somewhere in our discussions eventually, probably, where it goes, you got to be able to do this mental battle because people are always going to tell you what you should be doing.
Right.
What else you should be doing.
And I will say this. It's not meant for one organization to fix everything. It's meant for multiple organizations to fix everything. Right?
Yeah.
If my organization only does transportation, then let me get with an organization that does housing. Let us pair up together and work side by side. Let me make the recommendations when I hear, as I'm dropping them off at the location. Oh, well, you know what? Go here. They might, and that's the word you gotta use, might be able to help you. Don't promise they gonna help you, because now you put a blemish on that organization and they didn't even know they had the blemish before you can deploy the guy, female or male over there, right? So it's gotta work together. Like Roots had this one where we did help people who were in abusive situations, right? We made sure we had a great relationship with 5 Keys, and there was another one. There was one that I purposely didn't remember because no male could ever go, right? We had to drop them off at the BART station and leave. They would come pick them up, and it was protocol, it was safety, and it worked. It worked.
Wow.
So I never inquired more than I needed to know, right? In that, we made sure that anytime their people needed help, that we made sure that we had budget in for them to help them because they're helping us. So we worked in tangent with each other to make sure we could help people. We didn't have the housing ability.
Yeah.
We didn't have it. But we made sure we partnered with people who had it. We partnered with 5 Keys to make sure that single mothers or low-income families had diapers, had car seats, stuff. We couldn't do it. It wasn't in our budget.
Yeah.
But we partnered. So when people get to complaining, well, that organization isn't, what are you doing to help them?
Yeah.
Because if you see an issue and you're not helping, guess what? You're part of the issue.
Part of the problem.
Right? So, and that's what we do as a fiscal sponsorship. There's an organization that may not be fully surrounded or fully supported to get their 501c, but they need the grants, and the only way to get the grants is to have a 501c. Instead of complaining that, oh, they out there, they claiming they helping, but they're not helping. What we do, let us partner with you so that you can get the funds that you need and build your business so that you can be stable and independent enough to have your own 501c so you can go get the grant. That's what we did. We did that. So we have to get in that more mind frame, let's help each other versus critique each other. We got enough of the world that critique, especially those of us who got darker hues than the rest, about what we don't do. Right? They love to glorify all the violence and all the crime, all the negative stuff, but how often do they glorify the great work that we are doing to break chains, to break curses, to break stigmas, right? We're breaking them, slowly but surely we're breaking them. But it takes a team to do it.
Right.
It takes the community, and I think a lot of times we get away from the word community because we're so focused on, I'm doing bad, I need everybody else to be doing bad. Right? Right? Because let's be real. Only time I hear people complain about another organization is when that organization feels like they're failing at something. And they need to redirect the negativity about themselves to someone else. But like I said, if you ain't out in the streets for real trying to mediate a potential war and you're not willing to take a bullet for somebody, you can't critique what a person isn't doing right. Because when someone calls me for help, you can't tell me how I gotta go in there and help. That's my life.
I'm gonna help out where I see fit.
Right? So he got a gun. Well, we ain't gonna sit here and find out if he do. Let's go.
Right.
Where other people, you should have stayed and see if he had a gun for real. No, you should have been there.
You should have stayed. Wow.
Right? So, and then so we got to get in that portion, because like one of the things that we do at YCD, and a lot of firms and a lot of accounting firms and things have this, is burial removal. Those are like those situations you're talking about, right? Those are the ones where people feel like, well, you should be doing more. Most people will have either burial, paddock funds, something like that, miscellaneous to house or to do that type of one-off, right? That, okay, well, this organization needs help. Let's use burial removal to help them help the people, right? Because they don't have the funding for it. So if we give it to them, now this is unrestricted funds, they can do what they need to do for that group, right? So that's how we can partner up with people and make sure that we're helping. Others is saying, okay, well, we do have an alliance or allegiance with this particular person as you're filling out for the grant, saying we need so much here to be able to assist our sister company or our brother company or whatever because they help us in return by making sure that they take care of our clients when needed, right? And we make sure, but in the barrier removal padded funds, you have to be a lot more detailed and a lot more supportive documentation has to go in for that. It's not just an email. Right? In most cases, if you're really good with words, an email can cover all of the questions that may come up with very little supporting documentation. In these cases, we need all of the writing and the document for barrier removal funds because they will get into I can't make it any bigger, but you have child care here, you have mental health here, you have attire here, you have work equipment and tools, or even if you do, it's gonna get worse. Oh, yeah. Don't even go back. She got it perfectly clear.
Oh, yeah, that is probably the
Then
same.
we have, criminal history, substance abuse, health related. We have driver's license, transportation, housing, GED, union dues, miscellaneous, specified below, then we get into greater detail. But these are things that when you are writing for grants, some of these things are forgotten about because they're so-called, quote unquote, lumped into something else. But the grantor may not know that. So they'll put a restriction saying this is the only thing you can do with this line, which may leave out child care, which may leave out mental health, which may leave out substance abuse, stuff like that, the things that we really deal with or need help with. So barrier removal type of things, barrier removal funds or mitigation funds or padded funds or miscellaneous can cover these particular situations. And so I do recommend anybody that's going for grants that you put in something like that. Yeah. Miscellaneous, pad, or barrier or mitigation funds. Specifying the one-offs, right? Union dues.
To the best of their ability.
To the best of their ability, yeah. Right? Because if I don't pay my union dues, I can't go to work. Yeah. Which then creates a whole nother hard situation that you got to try to overcome. Now you're not working, now no funds is coming in, and then based off your W-2s, you make too much to qualify for any aid. I don't make that money right now. Yes.
People want to go to work. People get hired to go to work, but then you have to pay the child care up front.
That's correct.
At least a half of it or some kind of good show of pay.
Yeah,
and so
mortgage.
I had that experience myself when I first got out of college. It was like, I got a job. Yeah. I'm gonna pay for child care. And I was very blessed that the child care provider said, on this first day when you get paid, I'm expecting you to pay this amount, and on the second check when you get paid, I'm expecting you to pay this amount, and on the next month, I need all my money up front.
Yeah. Right. In the front, right.
That's not how child care.
Yeah.
It is not. As a living witness.
Yeah.
It is. Look, it's mortgage.
I'm gonna have it.
Yeah.
Next time.
right.
I'm gonna have it.
I'm gonna get them.
Exactly. I'm gonna take care of your baby next time.
So it'd be the truth. It'd be the truth.
Oh.
And so those are the things that, as a nonprofit, when you say you are helping the community, these are the portions where your fiscal agent or sponsor might be able to help. Because if it's not something that you have in your quote unquote line item or budget, you'd be like, okay, figure out how you can work this into a different line item. We'll float it for now. Reimburse us when you figure out where you can apply.
Yeah.
And that it's accepted.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes they can help with that. But those are the one-offs. That ain't something every time you come up, we're gonna be able to do. Yeah. Right? And so, but the barrier removal quote unquote funds or the sheet or padded sheet or miscellaneous sheet has to be extremely detailed, has to have the supporting documentation. If you say you went to the grocery store, this is where you need a company company card where you can go get those transactions, right? Because if you use your own card, it can be done. It's not something that we like to do often, but then there's a lot of redaction that has to go in because I don't need to know your whole account number. And I don't need to know what else you spent your money on. That's your business, right? Some people forget when you give up your bank statement, you giving up some habits. You letting habits be known.
Yeah.
Or preferences be known. I don't need to know all that.
Yeah.
I don't need to know all that. But then the problem when it happens will come with redacted forms or redacted documentations. What are you hiding?
Yeah. Why are you hiding?
It's a normal inquisitive thing. Grantors do it. What's here? I don't know. It's redacted. Right? I showed you what was here. You need me to highlight it too. This is what we need you to focus on. Right? Yeah, I don't want to know. So can we focus on this? And there's negotiations and things that we have to happen. Miss Dr. Kate is a witness, because she's having to intervene on a couple, like, that's not the issue here. It's the issue. Right?
Right.
It ain't going down.
Right.
We don't need to know that. We service them. Can we get reimbursed? Right? So but these things happen and we need a lot of documentations on those. And it's okay to do. And we're here to help educate as you become independent. We help educate as you become independent. The thing that we do as a fiscal sponsor, the thing we try our best not to do is handicap you in the growth aspect. We don't want to be the agency or the group that you can't do without, because we want to grow you to be independent. So if you understand it and you know, and no one else can come in, no other agency or entity that's trying to audit you, be like, well, you didn't do this right. No, I did. I did it right. You may not like it, but I did it right.
Well, I just want to acknowledge that we technically have 30 minutes to an hour left. So we're taking the room. Now, do we have the room till 1?
Oh, we have until 2.
Okay, good stuff.
I don't want to take all you.
Right.
Mhm.
But I also wanted to just say for, let's say, Tassie,
Tossy.
if you guys have any questions, anything that, again, he works for YCD, has a bunch of experience in terms of not only these documents and so forth, but again, working with other CEOs. Anything that would be useful for you in particular, we don't want it to not, hit anything that anyone has in the room, any types of questions or things like that.
And and while you're thinking of any questions, if you have people who are 1099 on your staff or within your organization, just make sure you keep all documentations for that 1099 at the end of the year. And create files, reimbursable, commission, things of that nature, or expenses, because we help, but we're not perfect. Perfection is hard to hit all the time.
Right.
That's the warriors.
Right.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, Dr. Tate, you got my email. You can definitely hit me, Miss. She just said it. Tassie. Mr. Jermaine Hughes has my email if you want to be able to drop a question or a couple of questions. I am so sorry, Miss. I am so sorry.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Like, man. This guy on the camera. Right.
I'm more than happy to be able to answer those or get the documentations or forms that you may need or want to know more about. I can get them out and do that with any of these students. I mean, not just students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Petty cash.
Yes. Good question. So those is what I consider. That's also considered pad. So if they don't accept the word padding, you can use the word petty cash. And petty cash is for reimbursables for one-off expenses. Like, let's say for instance, you have a credit card, but the driver that is using the car that you have needs to go get gas, but he's not authorized to use a credit card, you can reimburse him for gas on that. Or like, let's say you gotta go visit, somebody in, San Quentin that's outside of your thing, but they are related or, they work indirect or somehow they're indirectly related to the person that you're assisting or company or organization. That's a petty cash type of thing that you can get back for parking, for the toll bridge, for food.
We don't currently have petty cash, but my question is, what amount would you recommend that a organization have available in petty cash?
So I would say, in that particular case, I would say, honestly, I would say about 1/16, 1/8 of your budget you could do. Of the grant, so to speak, I would say, because you don't want to have a whole lot of petty cash on hand. I would say whatever you feel comfortable with, and what I mean by that is like if it came up missing, could you replace it? Until you figure out where it went, right? And if you do have petty cash on hand or on deck, gotta go through the security thing, so you gotta have a dual lock, security box. And then that dual lock security box has to go into a locked drawer behind a locked door. And then you need a log sheet for every time you go in. For what it is, for the purpose of, and things like that, and I would put all of the supporting documentation, a copy of it in there, in that box, so that way when you go to reconcile it, if you know what should be in it. But I can definitely walk you through that procedure, because that was one of the things I had to monitor quite a bit of.
It's one of those things that we haven't had, but it's seriously to the store frequently, and frankly, I'm over it.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, you wanna go get rid of it, you go buy it.
Right? And that's how that goes. That's definitely how that goes. So yeah, but I do recommend that places have that because you just, because it's not something, I tell people, when you create your line items, you can't think of everything. It's just impossible. Most of us is making sure we cover the heavy hitting items and we forget the little things that can become heavy hitting items. Like toll. So when I negotiated that in my pay.
I don't understand the whole market and why we can't do a clipper versus a fast track.
Because to me, they're the same thing.
They really are. I get penalized for not living in the city, but you can afford to live in the city, which is why you don't live.
That part. I have to do that. Not paying 4,000 for a studio. I can't see myself. 4,000, I'm like,
Jermaine,
oh, man.
are we gonna talk about money networks in the books though?
But yeah, and if you have any more questions, please let Jermaine know. If you can get them to me, and I will get that answer to you or my CFO, which she'll be here next week, right?
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. And she is awesome. She knows.
Let me just want to turn the light. But yeah, no, thanks so much, Tavare. And I think that, again, if the folks were here in the whole nine, we were like, okay, we have some more particular questions that they could ask. Again, I know that a lot of them are just getting started. And so one of the bigger questions was, how important it is to have the people on staffing.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want to have? I'm glad that you brought up the
Financial person.
the financial person, but also the fundraiser type of person. Because that person is oftentimes, right, we don't know who that person would be,
Right.
how we would get the money. We're used to getting it, right? So whatever I got to do to make some money, I have to do it. So we talked about the book a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This week of the first chapter of Get That Money, Honey. It's a
Nice.
book all about fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about, how comfortable not only do we feel with personal finances, but how
With the
comfortable
ask.
do we feel, with asking for money. And it's I think for generally speaking, a lot of people are like, I do not like asking for it. Much less going and talking to people who don't look like us,
Yeah.
who aren't familiar with us,
Yeah.
that we have to break things down to, and how to ask for that to feel comfortable asking in those types of circles of events.
And my answer to that is you go hire a person who has worked in sales.
Mm.
So retail sales, you go get a person who has worked in that, who has met their quotas frequently, consistently, because sales is all about the ask.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you to buy this product.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you may have came in and not ever considered buying that product, but they working on commission.
Right.
So they got to get great with the ask. I worked in women's shoes. I didn't know nothing about heels.
Right.
Quickly learned.
Right.
This looks good on you today.
Right.
That goes with your eyes. You get good at that.
Right.
So I don't have a problem dressing up in a tux and walking into a ballroom and I'm the only one
Yeah.
in the room
Mm.
because hey, how you doing today, sir? Have you heard about this particular organization? Like, it would be really good if you invested in it. One, you get a good write-off, or two, you get the impact and the recognition you get for helping people that don't look like you.
Mm-hmm.
You get that out.
I have a question on that. You're saying a salesperson, are you saying it's for a for-profit doing a product? But if we're talking about nonprofit doing organizational work, most salespeople don't have community understanding systemically. And then why a salesperson versus the development?
Because the salesperson, like I said, one works on commission. You can teach a person about the community or the business that you do. You can teach that. But you can't teach the skill set on the ask. Not all the time, because you got some people who are just uncomfortable, period, regardless of how much they know, to request that ask.
And we're asking in what
Money
sense?
Money
No, in
relations.
in what rooms, what's the scenario? I'm trying to.
So like when I ran track, we had to go and we had to get sponsors.
Right.
So we had to go to Puma, we had to go to Chevron, we had to go to Colgate, we had to go to these type of mixers where you got all of these people, senators, governors in the room.
Yeah.
And I have to walk up and sell myself to them. There was a lot of my teammates that couldn't do it. No matter how good they were, no matter how
Is that
many.
a nonprofit and or a community centric?
Sure. So at Roots, we had to go meet our district individuals and ask them for money for what we did at Roots. Well, we helped those who didn't have medical coverage, that were they weren't registered with us. They were non-documented individuals, or people who were fresh out of jail and their criminal records was just horrific, right? So we had to go in there and we had to ask them to donate to us funds, right?
Yeah.
So in that, I can quickly go back and read up on Roots. I didn't know anything about Roots until someone reached out to me and said, hey, we got a position, right? But I did not sign up to be the money person. I was actually managing a whole complete different group.
Okay, so thank you for that. Then why would we hire sales versus a develop? That's what I'm trying.
Right. So I worked in sales. I worked at Nordstrom.
No, I understand the skill set, right? But a lot of people who work in development,
Right.
they have that same skill set for philanthropy, for organizations in
They-
that way. They work on grants, they work on, it's all about.
But working on grants and writing for grants is one thing versus actually going up and meeting somebody who clearly could destroy your world if they don't like you. It's different.
What?
So like, let's say you walk up to somebody you don't know, you didn't pay attention to some of the details, the body language, things of that nature, and they're not in the best of mood. And their response is kind of harsh, right? Salespeople, we deal with that all the time. And we know how to back up and come back and do the reproach. Sometimes a development person may have the quote unquote background to say, I know the community, I know that, but there are certain skills that aren't always taught, that can't be taught. Like, for instance, the best way to put it is, you got some people who are really good with fashion and decor, right? Like, like decorating the room or giving you an attire that really works for you. You can't teach that to everybody,
Understood.
right?
Yeah, I understand.
So
what you're
you
saying.
can, they can learn color patterns, they can learn all of these things like a person in development. They can learn all they need to know about what you do as an organization or what your mission statement may be, and may have a really strong passion to do it. And yeah, they're probably taught well to go into a room and a mixer and do what needs to be done, but what are the success rates on them making sure that they get money for what you want done, or what you're asking for, what you need to raise? And I'm not saying that they're not good to use, you can use them, I'm saying, but if you don't have the money to pay a developer and you're needing someone to go into mixers like that, a salesperson is really good at that too, and they're also working on commission. So they know the pressure that it takes for them to get it, and they know that they have to be gently aggressive to get a yes.
So you're saying to hire a salesperson and have them work on commission as far as like, if the funder, the philanthropy says, okay, I'm gonna give you $1,000.
If your budget is only 30K and you gotta try to make it all work and you still need to raise funding, do you have the money for a developer?
Not full time.
So, I mean, and then you may only have that person, once or twice, but you might need to hit every mixer that goes on because you're at 30K. I'm not speaking, if you got the money for a developer, then hire a developer. I'm not saying not to. I'm saying that if you don't have that budget and you didn't think about it when you got the grant, a salesperson is good at that. They're good on working on commission.
Yeah, I wanna understand more strategy in the process, what you're saying.
Not a problem.
Because, financially, I don't see how that added up. Especially like a lot of developers are supporting in writing grants. Unless you're saying, okay, you're gonna be the one writing the grant, but I just need to know more strategy. I hear what you're saying as far as skill set, but I want to understand myself.
I'm gonna give a example on that myself. So I just finished the course at Boston University on development. I'm a CEO director. I have not done fundraising in that manner. I write grants. So am I a salesperson? I'm not the best salesperson. Put a grant in front of me, I can figure it out. When it comes time to being in the room to schmooze or something, that is not me. Yeah, that's John Freeman.
Yes.
She's gonna get in your face, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
All of that.
All of that.
I'm gonna be the person that's gonna come behind and say, last year we serviced 1,109 families. We had this many telephone calls and we received blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
The salesperson is gonna be your closer.
Yes.
So if you don't have a budget for a development person, and also even when you're hiring a development person, you might hire somebody like me and be like, she's a dud. Why? Because she's not a salesperson.
Yeah.
She can't close those individual things. And then when you think about development, it's not just someone who's writing a grant or someone who's doing a fundraiser. You have individuals that you're trying to do. You have annual campaigns. You have someone who's prospecting to kind of cultivate that relationship. That's the salesperson.
That's all, so I understand what both of you are saying. In hiring developers that I have been familiar with, we're looking at developers who have a certain track record, into what organizations, philanthropy that they have worked with and what funds have they brought in. So they have, so I'm just trying to understand, why would you go this route? I'm trying to understand the
And
strategy.
now I'm gonna say where I was going with it, in a Black organization, and I worked at a white organization doing the same type of work. We had a white development person, and she didn't understand how she was to get money for Black people. So her numbers were flat. Prior to coming into our organization, she was raising all kinds of money. She didn't have sales skills. She had personality for white folks, but it didn't translate into what I'm trying to get money for Black people. And that's the difference with the sales.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I think I'm acting on a more of a financial basis. I understand communal social settings and all these different things and how to look at background and make alignments or what the significance and importance is. But as an organization that's starting, what is the strategy behind you saying higher sales and this? I understand like bringing the money and they're going to be in the different things, but in relationship to a developer, if you have these things, I'm just trying to go more in depth in that. And I think that's just more of a one-on-one question. Maybe you can look at the outline of the business setup and what is already present and what it has already been generated to understand how you're saying sales may be better. And even like we're just starting off, for some organizations that I helped start off, like just from a strategic standpoint of thinking, when they're, because if they're a small organization, that executive director or whoever that may be is taking on writing grants. And oftentimes they're not equipped for taking on writing grants.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I understand everything that we're saying. So I think it's more of a line item, maybe more strategically looking at
So
what is set up. To
there would be
understand that
special events,
strategy.
and there would be the special events or others, right, as a line item, because that's a person that would be 1099 for you, and you don't have to pay, they're not on your payroll. You don't have to pay benefits for them, you don't have to do any of that stuff, because what would be is like, if we want to hire you, we'll give you so much as a flat rate, and then if you close the deal, we'll give you 5% of the grant, right? A salesperson can do that. A business development person is not going to do that.
Yeah, grant writers actually, in a lot of development, they actually work on that same, that's what I'm trying to say, they work on that same premise. You bring them in and based on the grant that they get,
Right.
and they'll get paid.
Right.
Which is how a lot of
Yeah.
folks start off because they don't have the upfront funds.
Right.
That's what I'm just trying to
And then,
understand.
so like my son's mother, she's a scientist. She's creating her own business and she's trying to get it off the ground. And so she had to go to a mixer, and she is not a person, right? So she's looking at me, and I'm a salesperson by nature, it's what I do. And she's looking at me, and I'm like, all right, not a problem. Right? Walk in there, by the time we walked out, she had 50K that she could do, that she was promised to get, right? But that's a closer. I don't, she didn't pay me for that. It's just that's just what I know to do, because when they ask the questions that can be obtrusive or offensive, you gotta know how to walk around it, right? Because you're asking them for something. I can't catch an attitude. I have to know how to find that common ground, stay within that common ground, and then work that. But in a budget item or line, it's others or special event, and that person's $299 because they're not on your payroll.
Or if you have a budget, you can put them on.
Then it's on my payroll. It would be it's good to have both. But I mean, in most areas, in most businesses, like even in sales, you got the initial person that walks up to you, and then you got that person that they know from close the deal that come in after. So, hey, I know you're looking at that car, and I know our finances is kind of high, but they come in and make you feel a little more comfortable about the deal. You know, because initially you're saying, nah, boy, I ain't paying that finance.
Right.
But then it's like, you know what, we went in there, we talked about it, and they already knew what they can bring it down to.
Exactly.
Right?
They just wasn't gonna bring it down to that if you wasn't gonna ask.
Right. And they close the deal. Yeah.
That's just, and honestly, Patsy, thanks for asking that
Yeah,
question.
that was a great question.
Because one, that hasn't been discussed thoroughly yet. We have done conversations around fundraising, but oftentimes it's about the grant writing. Oftentimes it's about, people doing papers, but seldom is it about locating the people that are outside of us. I think we're connecting with people who want to be founders. So we're thinking, okay, maybe you be the person, but some people know that they're not.
Yes.
And so like, look, I'm gonna be in that room and I want to cuss everybody out. I'm about to be offensive, offended, all of it. And it's not gonna be comfortable, it's not gonna be right. But that's one of the things that even comes up in marketing is, are you the person that's going to be doing the fundraising? And if not, then you got to go find those types of people because that is a skill set.
It is. It's a gift. Some people think you can acquire it. And I take it to sports, right? Not everybody is a sprinter, and not everybody is a long distance runner. I can teach you how to run fast. I can teach you the mechanics. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a contender.
Yeah.
You need a person that is a contender to win.
Right.
To really bring in the money, because let's say hypothetically, Mr. Brooker says, Tavare, we ran out of funding for you. If you can go out there and raise your funding to keep your job, best believe I'm about to. And I'm about to make sure I can get a raise too.
He said, stay left.
Stay left. You said change is having an event, I will be there.
Right.
To close, I'm gonna close it out, right?
Yeah.
Or if they say you about to lose your CFO, I'm going to go to that mixer.
Mhm.
Keeping the CEO.
We need that
We
CFO.
need that.
I ain't gonna be looking in my direction.
No. Right? And so that's those things. I know enough about YCD to sell it. I know enough about my own personal experience to cover the one-off question. Did I write the grant? No.
Mhm.
No, I did not write the grant. But I am asking you to fund that grant.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to support that, support people, so believe in the community that you say you serve,
Mhm.
but in a good way, because, you know, what people don't realize, sales is not just the speech, it's the look, your facial expressions, to be able to control that, your body language, because this right here is a turn off for people when you're asking for money.
Right.
Sticking your hands in your pocket is a turn off for money because you're looking nervous, your feet pointing to the door, but you're looking at them. All these things, sales, that's what I say, it's a gift. I pay attention to, are your feet starting to turn? All right, let's go. What's your sports team? Who you like? Okay, cool. Where you from? Oh, but I like that little area over there. So when they get them back into me, now I'm gonna bring that conversation right back around to that money.
Right.
And you fund it. But it's not something you can teach. You can take all kind of classes.
Right.
Yeah. With that, I'll turn it back up to you.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, man. Thank you again. So, good stuff. And so honestly, there's only a couple of things I wanted us to touch base on. One, I knew that there were, or rather, I was expecting people to be here. And so I did want to catch them up if we have that opportunity. The other part is we did touch on the book a little bit this week. I wanted to make sure that we were just continuing with reading through that. And also, we were supposed to be starting connecting on Mighty Networks. And I do understand that Mighty Networks is not the easiest thing to navigate, not because it's particularly difficult, but because it's new to a lot of us. So I did want us to get have an opportunity to try to get connected to it. I believe we talked to you, but and you were able to get inside.
Well, it was weird, it says I'm enrolled, but then I have a different email account for it, and then it wouldn't let me see.
Right.
So then you confirm that I am.
Yes, exactly. So I definitely did see your name in there. And so that's the thing too. Again, if the other folks were here, and we didn't make sure that it all made sense. That's simply not. I'm definitely concerned about that.
I just switched my profile and look like it's trying to load the. It works.
Right now you're in your thing? Awesome.
Okay, what's up with the gear? I see gear in pictures.
Say it again.
I said, what's up with the gear?
Here and then clothing.
Yeah, I see some jackets.
Oh yeah, no, those we do have those. We do give those out at the ending programs for the graduation. We tried to have some shirts once for a cohort in the beginning, and that was actually pretty complicated. People weren't showing us we could actually give them the shirts to use and to wear. And then with other sizing stuff too. So, Kathy, have you gotten an email regarding my networks yet? I do. I don't know why that's even posted. He did it. No, we can't on this screen.
It's on the screen, but it's kind of blurry. Do you have a?
You know, I think I just wanted it should be covered that, what are the different things, for instance, the press card, so regarding the trainings. And let me know if you guys can see this, in Tasi. I do know that we have a number of trainings, that we have in previous ones. And so this is what Lori from Robin Hood Foundation. These are conversations that we had and that we have recorded so that people can have this information. So, and oftentimes we're going to reference some of these. This is a conversation we had with Ms. Newton. This is with the last cohort discussing their business plans.
What is this? What are you under?
I am under Press Start trainings. Mhm. So on the left-hand side, they start here, Press Start level 1, 2, and 3. Mhm. And then we also, and so Vanessa Russell, she talks about her story. In this particular one, from start to finish, where the organization was inspired from, and then where she has brought it to within the last number of years. This is a conversation with a friend of mine who works at a East Bay Foundation, and they actually give out money, and they create grants, and then people win the money, and then they give the money to them. And so he's coming from fundraising from the back end, if you will. Okay, this is what we generally want to hear. This is what you need to talk to us about. This is how you need to talk to us. This is how you need not to be afraid to talk to us. And that was a really big part of this conversation, because I know that part of the thinking is, well, we want to like be super nice. I want to be this. We want to make sure that we never blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you might, it might behoove you to be straight up, to be honest, to be forward, and these different things, because some of us don't know, and we need to know. Some of us need to get checked, and you know, there's numerous ways, if you will, and levels of that, but need to be brought. You know, our awareness needs to be increased around certain things, and there's certain people that need to know how to do more of that rather than try to walk on eggshells and these types of things. Which was, again, a really interesting perspective that I'm glad to hear. All that to say, we have a number of these that we had both in the last cohort, but there will be more of these. And so honestly, what we did today, what was reported today, that will also be uploaded here. And so that is available. We also do have more videos that are on YouTube. In terms of community, these are what we want to have here. Any opportunity. So honestly, I've gotten, I'll get things on Facebook from people that I know in the community that are like, oh, we need people who, anybody who wants to apply to certain grants, here's this grant. Anybody that is looking for exposure, here's an opportunity to come and table at an event, here's an opportunity to be in a magazine, whatever that is. You can put certain things like that in here. One, because we do want to have those opportunities and that we do want to be sharing with each other so that we're not just kind of like, not a team or not really working together, just doing it all solo, but we want to be there to assist one another in sharing information that could be helpful for one another. And so that can be things that can be shared here in the community. I also want to draw attention to the book club. And so this is an opportunity to talk about some of the things that we're going through. And in the book, things that we read, I want to point your attention to this. Did anybody read this in chapter 2? What did you think about this in chapter 2 or chapter 3 or 1, whatever it may be? And this is just, again, an opportunity for us to engage one another outside of the room. And that's what I really wanted this to be. And looking at these opportunities, I mean, I've seen things on Facebook. I've been in Facebook groups. I've been in Mighty Networks groups. And it really just depends on who's in the group and how well people are communicating. But at least there is an avenue. We've actually used WhatsApp. We've tried text messaging. We tried Instagram direct messaging where we just have all of us in one group. And it's all been, trial and error, if you will. It's all been kind of back and forth, like what is the best way to keep us in touch with one another. So this is just our latest attempt in trying to not only have a space where we're just texting in a thread, but we actually have a whole, to some degree, it's almost like having a program or our own website in which we can post things, we can share videos, we can share audios, we can do all kinds of stuff in here, and this would be also accessible on the phone. And then the last part is accountability partners, which again, we're still trying to get people acclimated to so that people can actually work together in the room, support each other in the room, and outside of the room, most importantly. If people have questions, people, again, we said we're going to read this. Did you guys contact each other, ask each other if you read, fill each other in if someone didn't read, couldn't read, or couldn't do some part of an assignment, something like that. And so this can all be happening here and documented. So that's what I also want to have here too. So if we can document when we're connecting outside of the room, then we can also not only have that proof, but also be like, hey, since we did that, somehow we could incentivize, encourage you guys to all participate and connect with each other outside of the rooms. But of course, here's notifications, indirect messages. If anybody wants to be added, we can't add people without approval of the host. But we definitely want to have everybody who's part of the cohort to be added to the group. And lastly, I'll put the feed. And I believe we can write things on here. But these are most likely going to be the things that Naya and I may post for everybody to see. But yeah, so if does anyone have any questions? Again, Tess, were you able to get inside of it?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, cool. So again, it's an app. I'm part of groups on so many different apps. Just depends on, who's active, who's connecting, and who's responsive, honestly. If we could be responsive to one another, if we have a notification on our phone and somebody sends something and we can respond, sooner than later, we could try to end up creating more of a conversation. And in that way, we can be there for each other. There are conversations that are happening, people are sending us emails and stuff like that, and that's great and all. But sometimes it's good to also ask people in the room, hey, what did you guys think of this? What did you guys do? What would you guys do in my circumstance? Did somebody know somebody who does this? And, like we were just talking about the fundraising stuff, who knows someone who did that or who is figuring this out? And can I talk to them about what their experience was about this? Is it all showing up for you as well, Pam?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, ideally, we'll get everybody on here. Again, I know that Kobe will text us this, or rather send an email this morning that they couldn't make it today. And so we'll be trying to get back to them and get them this information at least during the one-on-ones. And the last thing I wanted to bring up were the one pagers. Again, I wish the other folks came today. But with the one pagers, we did start an assignment. Chassie, I know you weren't the last day, but we did start an assignment in which we're discussing having one pagers for our businesses or for our nonprofits, in which we're explaining, where we're at currently, where is it that we're trying to go, who are our competitors, who are our partners, these types of things. And this was all laid out using the Canva app in particular, because Canva gives us some great templates for one pagers and for presentations. I know we spoke about it, Pam, on Tuesday. Do you have much to share for your one pager in terms of what your organization is doing?
I don't, we have like a brochure one pager. And I didn't want to do that. I felt like that was not advanced.
Mm-hmm. I hear that. Okay.
Question about the one pager that was, shown.
Mhm.
Is that wrong in that page?
Yeah, exactly. It really was. And so honestly, we weren't looking for everything that Maria gave us, but she gave us so much. Exactly. And so all that to say is somewhere in that direction is great. We just wanted, more than anything, we want two things. One, people in the room to have an idea of all those types of things about the organization. But then two, be able to communicate that as well. And so especially for, say it again?
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, especially for the folks who are just figuring it out, pulling it together. I had an idea. I just got something off the ground. I have a program, but I want to make it into a whole organization, blah, blah, blah. Some of these things are things that may have been overlooked. It may not be something that has been strongly considered. For instance, who are the partners that you not only are working with, but who could you possibly work with in your community to deliver the services that you're trying to deliver for your particular organization? Oftentimes, like I was talking about earlier, you may have people who may not have many partners because their perception is, well, because crime is what it is, because poverty is what it is, because issues with drugs and so forth is what it is, then they must not be doing anything. Clearly, none of these organizations are, I love when people say the words, if nobody is ... And so with that being said, people can cancel out any type of partnerships because they're not even looking for help from anybody who's already done the work, been doing the work, been doing it for a number of years, because certain people are closed to the fact that that is actually happening because they don't see it happening the way that they want to see it happening. Honestly, sometimes that's the reason why we even start an organization, because we feel like somebody's not doing their job. With that being said, there definitely needs to be some attention given to who else is attacking homelessness, if that's what you want to address. Who else is dealing with domestic violence, if that's what you want to address. Who else is trying to bring these services to schools, if that's what you want to address. And that could be the beginning of them going, oh man, I should call them up. I should try to set up a meeting with somebody. I should try to learn from them. And so we just want to get some of those things on, not only on paper, but us talking about those in the room so that we can encourage one another to know about who's out there as well as who they can possibly partner with. Another thing that comes up with the one pager is financial goals, goals in terms of your clientele that you want to reach, how many participants that you want to have, things like that. especially as it pertains to maybe even not just 1 year, this current year or 1 year in advance, thinking, hey, like eventually you want to have a facility that offers these types of things, at least giving the participant a chance to think ahead, maybe even dream about, okay, what would be the ideal location, ideal customer or participant for your program? Who's going to benefit the most? And let's put some real numbers, demographics, and things like that to these people so that you're not just out here reaching out to anybody because you just want to help people. And that came up in one of the last meetings, which was, I don't want it to just be for this particular group because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings who isn't a part of that group. And it goes, well, okay, we got to narrow it down for the sake of making sure that your team is effective as it can be, reaching their ideal population versus just trying to cast a huge net and maybe catching folks that they don't even know anything about. And so that has definitely been, and that's what we also want to address with the one pager. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to make sure you turn those in. I would say this next go around, next training we have will be on the 21st. The person coming in will be coming and discussing, what's that called? We'll be talking about trademarking. So we talked a little bit about trademarking and intellectual property in our first meeting. And so he'll be coming in talking about that. He actually not only has a book containing the things that he can do and does in his trainings, but also has done trademarking for some of his clothing for the sake of not being copied by other folks and utilized without them making any money off of those things. So he can speak to that insofar as that is something that we're concerned about. But yeah, those are the things I really wanted to speak to before we wrapped up. Were there any questions anyone had?
I do have a question about the one paper, the pitch deck equivalent, and is that something that you?
Definitely accept that. Again, the one pager is, if you will, more like a minimum. If this is the information you can put together, it can all fit there. That's good. If you have an extensive amount of information and all the things that you want to do and are currently doing with their business, then yeah, pitch deck will be done. Will suffice.
Going to go because I have the afternoon appointment. You said it was
Okay. Okay.
and I need to make sure
I hear you. Yeah. Me too. We should make some stationary.
And how do you want us to turn this in?
You can email it.
Email.
I believe that you have both of our email addresses. That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
But yeah, if you guys can post anything inside the group this next number of days, again, we'll be connecting at least with the folks on Monday, and hopefully we can get them acclimated to this app at the end, and we can get some more conversation generated in there. But I do have a couple of things that again have been sent to me about entrepreneurship, something I could share with you all. I just had to take a second to get in there.
what is our topic for next week?
Say it again.
What is our topic for next week?
Our
Next
topic,
time?
it'll be trademarking and intellectual property.
I'm sorry,
Protecting it.
we're supposed to be online when we offline the other week,
correct? So then.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. So yeah, we should actually be meeting this coming Thursday. So yeah, that will determine that actually. Yeah, we have to meet about that. But yeah, this Thursday we should be meeting on virtually.
Well, remember, I'm gonna be in New York, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, so I'll get back to you on that. Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
Definitely in person, 21st.
Mhm.